Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, divine attributes, further discussion, and the divine attribute of Rabb. And this is our fourth presentation in this series of divine attributes. These are the references, and over here I have added the Quranic system of sustenance as well, because that covers quite a bit on Rububiyat. And this is our contact. First slide is some general points with regard to the study of the Quran. As we know, the Quran and Allah puts forward the outline of the constitution of the Islamic State called System of Deen. In this regard, it tells us, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum. This day I have completed your deen. So Quran very clearly states that deen as a system has been completed and is within the Quran. So we need not go outside the Quran. And as deen is completed, so there is no need for any further messenger to be sent to the world. The Quran has covered the aspect of kufr and iman in detail in order to provide guidance to the Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen in helping to understand the nature of the two different human psychologies. So we should look at kufr and being mu'min as two different psychologies, and these are diametrically opposite because the view about life is totally different. Under kufr, one thinks that the life will end with physical death and lives like that, while being a mu'min, one thinks and develops conviction that the life will go beyond physical death at human self's level. For this it states, قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ. We have gone over this verse number of times before. Surely the correct and wrong paths of life have been illuminated. Whoever rejects Taghut, that is man-made systems. And we should keep in mind that all man-made systems are covered under Taghut, because under man-made system, human beings make laws to control other human beings and accepts iman in Allah. It then makes clear to the Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen that deen needs Rabbana wab'as fihim Rasoolum minhum yatlu alayhim ayatika wa yu'allimuhumul kataba wal hikmah wa yuzakkihim innaka antal azizul hakim. And this is a supplication by the messenger Ibrahim, O our Rabb, this process should remain in place among our progeny until that messenger arises among them with this revolutionary invitation, who presents your code of laws in their final and complete form. Also provides them teaching of this book and tells them the purpose and rationale of these laws and what outcomes will be established by following them. And through the system, the potentials of these people emerge and self-development takes place. This kind of self-development can occur through the amalgamation of power and hikmat, and this is only possible within your system. And this particular verse is very important for us to understand in terms of today's presentation and also in the context of the overall system of deen, that whoever is participating in this system and its establishment will have to go through this process of knowing about the Quran and the rationales behind every command which is given in the Quran, and then using that to develop their own self. And then Quran uses two divine attributes over here, Aziz and Hakim. When we relate it to Allah, which means power and rationale of everything which Allah has explained in the Quran. And when we will relate it to ourselves, that means the power will come to us by doing this, that is by self-development, and we will be able to explain its rationale to others after understanding our own self. The next slide is aim and purpose of this forum. The need for this slide arose because we had a number of discussions and exchange of views in our previous sessions, where I thought it is better to make it clear once for all so that we can refer back to this talk as and when some doubt arises or we want to reaffirm it and reiterate it. In terms of conducting our sessions, we have the following two options. Option one is we hold our meetings as a lecture with no question and answer session. Using the Zoom facility, this does not need attendance by members, as the lecture can be recorded and shared through the medium of YouTube. And this is very straightforward. We don't have to have a question answer session. We don't need members to attend this lecture as well. Option 2 is we keep following the existing pattern of a presentation followed by the question and answer session, where we freely and informally talk to each other and exchange views on various aspects covered in that particular talk or any of our previous talks. Here members can clarify any queries and ask questions about the lecture itself or about any previous one. If time permits, members can also ask any general question. So far, efforts have been made that the session is not closed while members have any comment, query to share. The aim of following option 2 is related to the issue of educating and learning about the finer aspects of the system of Deen. As noted in slide 1, the Quran asks us to arrange its teaching, learning of rationale behind its value system, and to help with self-development through inner conviction. This is to be directed towards those who have made a deliberate decision as per verse 256, to accept Iman and then to offer their selves for further education and growth on this path called Sirat-e-Mustaqim. So the issue before us is that we want to educate and train ourselves for the system of Deen. And that means that after attending these sessions, we have to go back and make efforts at our own end to enhance our own understanding. Why do we need to do this? The first stage on this path is rejection of the man-made systems, as this rejection leads us towards the Quran or Allah. We remember we have gone through his attribute as Allah, where we make him as our model for our self-development. And we wish to bring a change in the world to release mankind from man-made chains. Next slide is the Quran contains statements which point to the successes of Mu'mineen and Allah providing them help. This means that if this process, as noted in the Quran, is followed, efforts are made by the Mu'mineen who have thus emerged. They need to check the results as per the signposts. So Quran does give out this procedure in a number of verses, and we have gone through it previously as well. For example, when the Quran states, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لِيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ وَلَا يُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَىٰ لَهُمْ. I've only quoted part of the verse. We have gone through it previously as well. Allah has promised to those who accept Iman and do salih deeds that they will be established in the land, as this was carried out in the past, and to establish their deen on planet Earth. To be a mu'min, it stipulates a change in vision, and that is why Quran says, فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ. By rejecting man-made systems from the core of our heart and accepting Iman in Allah. So the emphasis over here is that we need to get power, because without getting power, just merely reading the Quran and keep doing our self-development will not achieve the purpose. Because unless power is acquired by Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen in a particular piece of land, we cannot establish the system of Deen. Because Deen is established initially as a seeds in some land, and then it grows. Because when people see this model and its benefits, then people are attracted by that model. When Mu'mineen come together, due to their inner change, they are further guided. And we have gone through this verse as well. وَتَعْصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. We can look at rest of the verse in our own time. Holding on to the book of Allah, that is his rope, and all becoming united. So becoming united is part of the prerequisite towards acquiring power from Allah. Mutual affection and using the Quran as an external criterion while advancing on this path requires education and training. And this is very clear. Even from the man-made system, we can see that we cannot, for example, be a dentist or a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer or for any job unless we have education and training in that and some experience in that. Yatlu alayhim ayatihi wa yuzakkihim wa yuallimul kitaba wal hikmah. Reciting Allah's signs plus self-development through learning the book and its rational. Because as we know, Quran needs mu'mineen who meet the criterion of the Quran so that the power, they can become eligible for getting power from Allah. From the above, it becomes clear that option 2, which is being employed on this platform, is in line with the Quranic guidance. And this is an important point for us to understand from today's talk. That option 2, which is being employed on this platform, is in line with the Quranic guidance. Those who, after accepting Iman and doing Salih deeds, need some gathering of all of those who wish to progress further on this path. Why does the Quran not specify some time scale for this? And this is another very important point which we need to be very clear on that from today's talk. Why does the Quran not specify some time scale for this? Because Quran says in this, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ, that you need to have Iman and Salih deeds, then coming together, uniting your hearts, and then keep doing it. The reason is very clear, i.e., once we become Mu'min, life acquires a higher plane of existence. And at the level of the self, life is clearly viewed as one continuity with only a taste of physical death. And this is important for us to understand that once human beings become Mu'min by choice and start following the Quran and come together, then essentially rest of their life is devoted to this cause of acquiring power and then establishing deen. And that becomes their goal. It does not matter whether the efforts made in this life materialize into success or those who follow will complete the task. Because at the self level, now this life of Mu'mineen becomes one continuity with a brief event of physical death on the way. So time scale is not important here anymore. It is their efforts which matter. So this is the point which I have tried to put in this particular last line of this slide. Next is something to reflect on as a human being in this finite physical life. Is it fair on our part that while seeing all the injustices, conflicts, bloodshed, imbalances, fear, grief in the world of 2025 and being aware of the 100% solution as noted in the Quran, to just walk away or to not commit to it fully, knowing that we are going to die one day, that is the physical death, and that our life in the hereafter depends on what we do here. So this is at an individual level, that if we have understood the solution given in the Quran, and we have also understood the recipe for getting power from Allah using the Quranic guidance and its method, its formula, then is it fair on our part as an individual to walk away? Next line is, even while living under man-made systems, we do bring out some of our latent potentials relating to material successes, and we also learn about the possibility of the existence of many other latent potentials. Should we not learn about these potentials from the Quran? For example, the potential to accept Iman and do Salih deeds, the ability to become the companion of Allah. I should have highlighted this part of this, that we have the potential to become companion of Allah, and it is up to our choice. The potential to remove differences, the ability to unite hearts to form a Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen, acquire the motivation and ability to manifest the divine attributes. Do we wish to leave this world without ever trying to bring out our best? And that is the question we need to keep asking ourselves. That do we wish to leave this world without ever trying to bring out our best using the Quran? We know that Allah of the Quran exists, as does the life of the hereafter. We also know that Allah has repeatedly mentioned helping the Mu'mineen if they wish to tread on Sirat-e-Mustaqim. Because right at the beginning, Quran has taught this supplication, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. What is the point of teaching us that supplication if Allah, who has put it there, is not going to help us? So that is the question which should come to our mind, and we should look for an answer for that. Is it not worthwhile to give it a try if we are not happy with the word of 2025? Just because Allah is not physically visible does not mean that He does not exist. And we know he exists because we can see his laws all around us, which are doing their job. Having verified that the Quran is from Allah, should we not give it a try and join those who are already on this path? So this is a fairly general slide which I thought to put together to motivate ourselves, to keep reminding ourselves, and it can serve as a starting point to draw the attention of others who might be complaining about the word of 2025. Now, next is one important reality. The difference between the animalistic and human life is that man has been bestowed with a personality or self. The completest self is that of Allah, and after that, on a limited scale, the human self bestowed by Allah. Man receives this self in an undeveloped form. The aim of human life is the development of his self. And this is another point which we should keep in mind as we go through our rest of our life on this planet. There is a possibility kept within the human self that it can keep reflecting the divine attributes, leaving aside those which are specific to Allah, within human limits. On this basis, the divine attributes become an external standard for us to evaluate to what extent our self has become developed. So Quran hasn't left it to us. It is giving us all the signposts noted in the Quran that will tell us that at what stage we are in terms of our self-development after acquiring Iman and then keep on doing salih deeds. The program before man in the life of this world is that he should develop these latent potentials in such a way that he becomes capable of treading the next evolutionary stages of life. As I said earlier, that a lot of potentials we bring out under the man-made system even without the Quran. But once we bring Quran into it, then we can clearly differentiate the new latent potentials which acquire new capabilities, new abilities within us, and we are able to do a lot of those things and understand a lot of those things which are given in the Quran and which are directly related to the responsibilities of Mu'mineen. The name of this next evolutionary stage is paradise. The Quran has termed this as fawz, and fawz is something which we achieve through our own deeds. And the meaning of fawz is not the achievement of freedom from some hardship, rather it is the achievement of something positive. Secondly, that for every event in the universe, there is the manifestation of a particular attribute of Allah. With deeper study of the Quran, this matter becomes understood what kinds of attributes of Allah manifest in what kinds of events. The aim of the self-development of man is that in these kinds of events and incidents, the human reaction should also be like that. This is called nearness to Rabb, and the system is called Rububiyyat. Divine attributes, listing the main ones. And I have taken these from Tabweeb Quran, and I've given the page numbers over here. Some of these, if we look over here, somehow that Y, that is Ya, is missing. Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin, Malik al-Mulk, Al-Muhit, Al-Qadir, Al-Khaliqo, Al-Alim, Al-Hakim, At-Tawab, Al-Bariyo. And like that, we can go through the rest in our own time. There are 90 of these noted over there. There can be an addition to this list, i.e. the things which Allah has attributed to His self from which His attribute is defined. For example, from planning of affairs, that is Amr, He could be called Al-Mudabbir. For more details, see the human self and Allah. And we can see that if we start displaying all these attributes, 90 attributes in the system of Deen, how perfect that system will be for the mankind. Next is some beliefs related to sectarian Islam. Just a word about these divine attributes. We will cover some of those, but the rest will be covered as we will go through the Quran. The purpose of human creation is to worship Allah, not to obey His laws. I thought to put some of these over here in this slide so that we get a perspective. The purpose of human creation is to worship Allah, not to obey His laws. Allah can be pleased and made angry. Hence, He needs to be pleased through religious rituals and practices. And this is because of human beings start to see the rulers as as gods, and they think that Allah also works the way human dictators work. And these dictators work because there is no system of deen, and human beings accept them as they are. One hadith reads, "You can never be a believer as long as you do not believe in destiny." And this is the case of Qismat, in its good and its bad, to such an extent that he believes whatever is to afflict him, he would not have escaped it, and whatever is not to happen misses him, will not occur, was not to ever afflict him. So under Qismat is that whatever comes is from Allah. And this is the wrong belief, because over here there is no accountability and human beings are not made responsible. So this kind of belief system is very bad for the development of the self, and as a nation, such nations linger behind, because their mentality is that they accept status quo and they stay in a state of Jahim. Another narration reads, "The Sultan, i.e. the Muslim ruler, is the shadow of Allah on earth. So whoever honors him, the Sultan, Allah will honor him. And whoever despises him, Allah will despise him." And as a result, people who are under the control of these dictators or sultan or under mulukiyat, they don't make an effort because they stopped thinking. They live literally at an animalistic level. He forgives whom he wills and punishes whom he wills. And this is as per the common translation of, for example, this one verse. And all these details are covered in the Book of Destiny by Allama Pervez. So over here, again, there is no accountability, and it is the will of Allah, because people have created God in the image of dictators. In the 5 pillars of Islam, for example, Kalma, Namaz, Zakat, Hajj, Roza. Roza is fasting. Why is the Quran not included? And if we ask people under sectarian Islam, they are taken aback. They never even think about it. We hear the term of the Quran plus Sunnah, and this is blatant shirk. This will never lead to establishing a system called Deen, because this mentality becomes very contaminated. And for every command in the Quran, they find out some way out to disobey it. All this falls under shirk, which is a supreme crime. All human beings are terminally ill with physical death. I put it down over here because sometimes we do not realize that all of us are going to die. So the issue is not to accelerate the death of others, like what is happening in, for example, Gaza and other parts of the world. But people should pause and reflect that we all are going to die at some point in time. The Quran offers the prescription to acquire new life, which turns our death into tasting it. This choice is not available outside the Quran. Now, next what I've done is I've taken some attributes of God as reflected or given in Bible, and I've taken it from Google. God is infinite, He is self-existing without origin. God is immutable, He never changes. God is self-sufficient, He has no needs. God is omnipotent, He is all-powerful. God is omniscient, He is all-knowing. God is omnipresent, He is always everywhere. God is wise, He is full of perfect, unchanging wisdom. God is faithful, He is infinitely, unchangingly true. God is good, He is infinitely, unchangingly kind and full of goodwill. Just concentrate on the word kind. God is just, He is infinitely, unchangeably right and perfect in all He does. God is merciful, He is infinitely, unchangeably compassionate and kind. God is gracious, God is infinitely inclined to spare the guilty. So there is no accountability. God is loving, God infinitely, unchangingly loves us. Very human sentiment. God is holy, He is infinitely, unchangingly perfect. God is glorious, He is infinitely beautiful and great. And we can see that in all these praises, what Quran has asked us to display these in the man-made world. And what Christianity has done, I will leave it to our own judgment, what is happening in the world around us. Now, briefly discussing the divine attribute of Rabb. I thought go through it briefly, because we have covered it in the past in detail, and what I will do is I will leave a link to that in our notes underneath. Witnessing what is going on in the world of 2025, any rationally thinking, compassionate human being will question, is this the way human life is meant to be? Then the question of death comes to mind, that once we die, is that the purpose of human creation, to live life at the animalistic level and then die? And these are the questions which we should pose to others as well who haven't come to the Quran. Because death is a very big event in our life. It means after death we cease to be in this world and we are never going to come back. The Quran tells us that the universe with man placed on planet Earth is created with a clearly defined purpose. And Allah as Rabb, who has created it, has taken it upon himself to put in place guidance for every creation of his. Very important point, that if he has created us, then it is his duty to give us guidance as well, to provide us guidance. In the case of man, since he has choice and intent, hence guidance is provided externally in the form of his wahi, that is his revelation, which is now preserved for all times in the Quran, which is now preserved and protected in the Quran. Man does not have any inner guidance. The divine attribute dealing with this aspect of guidance is called Rabb, and the system which is to be established through the hands of the Jamaat-e-Momineen is called Rububiyat. So if the system of Rububiyat is not established, then essentially we are not passing on this guidance to everyone on the planet. It is that system in which all physical needs are met adequately by working hard and then sharing the fruits of this labor across the board and feeling pleasure and joy in this sharing. So this is not to be done mechanically. We have to create that satisfaction, that pleasure and joy of treading on Sirat-e-Mustaqim, knowing that it is Sirat-e-Mustaqim. Because if there are doubts and suspicions and uncertainty and we are skeptical about it, then there is no pleasure and joy. We will think that it is a punishment. This system aims at developing the human self and providing explanation and opportunity of this to every individual living under this system. This system is judged by the disappearance of fear and grief, as it is based on Iman and the permanent values. The next slide is root meanings and their application of Rabb. The root of Rabb is given here. It means to provide nourishment, nurture and development, i.e. making something pass through ever new transformations. Very important that under this attribute we will go through various transformations so that it reaches its completion through gradual nourishment. And we can see that in the non-human world, how a seed becomes a tree and then bears fruit. This method of development is called Rububiyat. Ibn Faris has stated that its basic meaning is, number one, taking care of something and making it balanced. From this, our Rabb is owner, creator, taking care of something, and the one who reforms. So for example, parents will be doing this job of being Rabb to their children. Something to remain established and to remain firmly at one place, and joining something with another thing. Hence, providing nurture with continuity and keeping it right is called Rububiyat. Some applications, sleep, comfort, and an interval of peace is related to nurturing of a child. Resolution of some matter and setting it right and then establishing it. Collecting something and then to keep multiplying it. Those perennial plants which do not wilt in any weather, related to nourishment. And this is a very interesting part of it, this application, because the system of Deen is for 24/7. That land which has abundance of trees and plants and it remains evergreen. So this is also pointing to the beauty as well. Abundance of the means of convenience. A big Jamaat also used to dense forestation with many trees. So there is an element of number as well as abundance. Fresh, clean water in abundance. A leader of a nation is called Rabbul Qawm. Owner of a house is called Rabbul Bayt. An elder brother is also called Rabb. And if we remember that Pharaoh also called himself as Rabb. And he said, Ana Rabbukum al-Ala, that is, I am your supreme Rabb. I don't understand, I do not know any other Rabb in the world. Rabbani, scholar possessing ilm, that is knowledge, universal rububiyat, establish an Islamic society. Next is schematic on the significance of Rabb. Allah, with all divine attributes as noted in the Quran, is our Rabb. So we have to display this attribute within the system of deen or within its context. So that means we have to understand all those verses where the Rabb appears as a divine attribute. Amr leading to Khalq, to Bari, to Musawwar. Adam appears in the universe with a self-possessing choice plus intent, hence needs guidance, divine attributes plus permanent values. And we have gone through this Khalq, Bari to Musawwar. That is, initial creation takes place by Allah, and this world is his creation. So he decides it in his domain of Amr, then creation starts, then he goes through its finer aspects, that all those additions are taken away and it is turned into a refined shape. And then this Musawwar means that the final picture comes before us. That is, as a human being with all our cognitive faculties, we become Adam. Next is Rabb, a divine attribute which applies to all aspects of Allah's creation and its purpose, including the human self and its journey through this world. The human self is invited to understand it and then manifest it to get the best out of his life. Its understanding and manifestation will lead to the manifestation of other attributes, which means that the system of deen, which will be displaying this rububiyat, will take care of human beings right from their birth through to their death, every aspect of it. And that is where a lot of reflection on our part is required. And Quran says, Kul aghairallahi abghi rabban wa huwa rabbu kulli shayin. وَلَا تَقْسِبُ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ إِلَّا عَلَيْهَا وَلَا تَعْزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى ثُمَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ مَرْجِعُكُمْ فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. The translation is, say, shall I seek Rabb other than Allah when He is the Rabb of all things? Every self draws the meed of its acts on none but itself. No bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another. And this is a law. We have gone through this as a permanent value. Your goal in the end is towards your Rabb. That means all of us must understand this attribute of Rabb, acquire it, manifest it in our personality, in ourself, on this journey of Sirat-e-Mustaqim. He will tell you about things wherein you differed. So all these things we have to figure out right in this life. And this is for those who do not come to the Quran. So over here, Quran is saying that those who have come here, they have to look at this verse and see that we have to be absolutely clear what Rabb means. That is this attribute of Allah. And when we talk of Allah, as we have discussed previously, it means all his attributes. Next is every part of creation is provided with guidance and its destination. Man has choice and intent. His guidance, destination is given in the Quran. We are familiar with various kinds of seeds. All these seeds have the potential within them to turn into a plant for which they are meant. So under Rububiyat, they will become what they are meant to become if right environment is provided to these seeds. And once we put this seed, for example, in the soil and provide it right environment, then it is bound to grow into a sapling, into a crop. And we can see the process of it. From a seed, it grows. And we see this on a daily basis in our gardens and around in the world. And same is true of man as well. And this is what it, for example, these flowers become. And they not only change the environment, but also they provide beauty and give us pleasure. And all these planets, galaxies, everything is following Allah's laws. And same goes for animals. They go through a process, a cycle, a biological cycle, and then either they are consumed or they die And we know in the case of man physically, the human life cycle, what happens is from a child and then from a baby, first is fertilized egg, then fetus, baby, child, and then become a teenager, then adult, then old age, and then we die. Physical body, this is the journey of the physical body. What about self? So this human being has a self. So death is just one stage of that journey, because Quran says it is a straight journey, it is not cyclical. The Quran presents the choice of growing out of the biological existence to acquire new life, new relationship called Mu'mineen. So this attribute of Rabb makes us understand that what is the purpose of our life and how we have to display it in the human world using the Quran. Now over here I've got few slides manifesting the attribute of Rabb in our life. Understanding the purpose of human creation and then being able to communicate effectively to others who are looking for guidance. Obviously, we cannot communicate unless we have a developed self or ourself, because we have to explain it to others. Fully conversant with the responsibilities which Allah has taken on Himself as detailed in the Quran, and Mu'mineen to deliver these through a formal commitment as noted in 911, where Mu'mineen make a covenant, they agree on a covenant with Allah that I will give my life and my possessions on your path. Under this agreement, Mu'mineen carry out these responsibilities and Allah gives them their rights. This is a binding contract we agree with Allah. And this is something very, very important from today's talk, is that though Allah is not visible, but the results of following this path keep appearing before us as signs. Promote good and forbid evil. This is how we identify issues in our life, learn about the world around us. We apply the law of requital to every aspect of our life and assess others continuously based on their words and deeds. Never say those things which we do not follow through with action. This is applicable to both individual as well as collective behavior. For example, when Tolu Islam makes a commitment, it must fulfill this. Whatever it stands for in words, it must remain firm on it, no transgression from the path. Because the transgression means that we will not get the results of our efforts. Our efforts will go wasted. Quran calls it abitat amal. What we say, the same must be in our hearts and mind. Unity of thought, no hypocrisy. And this is very important, that we must guard against it, that whatever we say and whatever is within us, have we made sure that we display the same, we say the same, and there is a unity of thought and deed. Understanding the precise scaling in the outer world, within the human world and in the human psyche. There is nothing at random in this world, everything follows scales, but we can learn these scales by learning the Quran as well as by observing around us. So it is very empirical. If we make an effort, we can understand this scaling. Next slide is know what means are available and to then make these available for the good of others. Do not wait for people to ask for these. Seek them out. As the self develops higher, if we first spare resources and then remain on the lookout for those who are needy. Next is minimize needs to the level of a common man. Because Quran says this is a journey we are going through and you should only take with you what you require for the journey. Don't accumulate and don't keep it away from those who need it. Possessions so spared to be made available to others ASAP. Allah as Rabb has made everything available in the world for all of creation, including man for all times. Manifesting this attribute means we need to do the same. For this, the term used by the Quran is rizq, and rizq is sustenance to be provided when needed, to be enough to meet the need and should meet the changing requirement as well. So deen will cater for all these three aspects. Prefer to fulfill the needs of others if possible. This is a very elevated level of manifestation of this attribute. Reject the man-made system completely at the level of the intellect. No ifs and buts. Taghut needs to be unacceptable. Otherwise, a heart and intellect with some sympathy for it cannot work for the system of deen. And this is important because we have to remind ourselves and keep asking ourselves that, do I accept this system? And despite being the beneficiary, or do I reject it? And then we will see how the system of deen emerges from the Quran as we go through Allah's book. Manifestation of the attribute of Rabb includes thinking hard and remaining focused about the plight of the poor across the world. All human beings are exactly the same, i.e., the physical body and its needs, desires, emotions, feelings, memory, intellect, and I. Displaying this understanding is a need of this attribute. Allah is Rabb of everyone, so should Mu'mineen view the world. It's a huge, challenging job. Part of this aspect is to know all those aspects of the human psyche to which the Quran draws our attention. For example, man looks for quick results. Doubts arise in human hearts. He is impulsive. He is greedy. Different states of nafs. Overcoming all these is part of this process of the self-development. Uniting with those who are on this path is part of this manifestation as noted in this verse. This commitment to the path called Mustaqim is not for one day, 1 month, or 1 year. It is for the whole of this life as well as the hereafter. Actually, if we look at it very carefully, that once human beings become mu'mineen, then and they start doing salih deeds, and the good results of their work starts manifesting in the life of the hereafter right on this planet. And when these signposts appear, that means now they have entered the life of the hereafter despite being in this world. This includes understanding that there is no compulsion in deen, and the fact that we cannot force anyone, meaning that we need to fully understand what it means to have iman and how it links to salih deeds. In the manifestation of this attribute, another aspect is regarding performing salih deeds as swiftly as possible. A deed which is done at leisure, even if there was a chance to do it earlier, will not give a higher benefit to the human self. And the point over here to which we should remain alive is that if we are lazy in carrying out a good deed, a salih deed, which we could have done earlier, that means we are doing it in the presence of Allah. So we are actually providing evidence to Allah, who is present all the time, that I'm not serious in following your path. And this is something we need to keep reminding ourselves. We need to keep in mind that in the system of deen, things are to be done at the human time scale, not at the natural evolutionary time scale. That is, all the time reminding ourselves, I have got finite time in this life, and my hereafter depends on what I do over here. And this is, of course, after accepting iman in Allah. Keeping the life in the hereafter in mind on a continuous basis is part of developing ourselves. The deed of today has an impact on our tomorrow. Our hereafter commences in this life at self's level. And this is a great achievement. And it is all signposted by the Quran. It is not otherworldly that we won't know it. Next slide is perseverance with patience and steadfastness while gaining knowledge of the world in which we live and applying Quranic understanding to it to figure out solutions. We recognize the wrong around us, and we need to work out the solutions and the process of dealing with this as and when power comes in our direction. And this power is bound to come in case we follow this path and complete the Quran and are fully determined that my rest of my life is devoted to this cause. Doesn't matter what we do in the human world, in the man-made system, how we are earning, and that should continue. But this is something which is really individual, and it cannot be induced from outside. Part of this attribute is to remove all dissonances within us, i.e. to be absolutely clear about our aim of life, and then to have no differences with those who are also holding on to the rope of Allah. Not to let any doubt and suspicion come between us. And if these doubts and suspicions do arise because of the way our brain functions, we should counter it and using the Quranic light. Developing a very clear understanding about how Allah as Rabb gives life to the dead. The example of Ibrahim is given in this verse. This aspect is essential to manifest as this helps to grow and strengthen our inner resolve. In dispensing help to others, we need to see this as a means to develop ourselves and never influence the choices of those whom we help. Guide if they seek our help, otherwise leave them alone to figure it out themselves. The way Allah has given us this world, whole planet is placed at our disposal, given us the guidance, and then given us finite time from birth to death, and said, go and practice your choices over here. If you practice it wrongly, you will get wrong results and you will know it, and all these wrongs outcomes are given in the Quran. If you follow the Quran, you will get the right results. Yes, initially there will be challenges, and all those are explained in the Quran, but you will not be alone. You will fit into Allah's program now, and then help of His laws and His own presence will give you strength. If in our opinion they waste it, let them, but do not stop helping them. This is part of learning patience and tolerance to acquire this attribute. By becoming immersed in the trivial, we lose sight of the bigger picture. And that is very important. We should avoid getting lost in trivials. We should also avoid a lot of aimless conversations. And if we can redirect those conversations, that is great because it helps to develop ourselves. Never feel abandoned by Rabbil Alameen on this path. Signs of our efforts do show up. Darkness leads to a dawn. And finally, few excerpts taken from volume 2, which is under editing, and I thought that to share these over here in this forum. The aim of Deen is to establish such a system in which all individuals keep obeying the divine commands and laws, and which the means and resources become available for each individual, from which his physical needs keep being met, and his self also keeps developing. In order to meet the physical needs of the members of the society, it will be necessary for the resources of rizq to remain in the possession of the Islamic State. And for the development of the self, it will be necessary for this state to carry out the education and training of the members of society in such a way that the motivation for the development of the self emerges from the depths of their hearts. Next is, no one else can develop the selves of individuals. This has to be done by the individual himself. And I will repeat it for my own sake as well. No one else can develop the selves of individuals. This has to be done by the individual himself. That is, they have to bring out their own life. They have to bring out their own new life within themselves, far above the biological existence of theirs. Allah stated even about Rasulullah himself that you can guide the people towards the correct path, but you cannot make them tread on the correct path. And over here we should keep in mind that Rasulullah himself was a human being. And Quran says that he also accepted Iman just like other human beings. Even those whom you, O Rasool, may love very much, you cannot make them tread on the correct path. You can only show him the path. Treading on the path can only take place according to the law of Allah. Hence, only He knows who treads on the right path. And when Quran says only Allah knows, that means all this is given in the Quran and we can figure it out ourselves. And this is also an attribute we have to acquire, how to figure it out. And part of our responsibility on this platform is to keep highlighting it for our own self. That state should also make arrangements for the suitable education and training of the members of society, as a result of which they should become enabled to develop their own self. Thanks for your time and for sharing this today. Please feel free to share it with your contacts. You may like to subscribe for future talks related to the Quranic system of Deen.